So we've next got Chris Nixon and Tom McCulloch. So Chris is Assistant Director, Family Hubs Policy, Department of Education, and Tom is Regional Delivery Support Advisor Lead for Department of Health and Social Care.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi everybody, I'm Chris Nixon. I'm head of the Family Hubs policy team in the Department for Education. I'm just going to give a few thank yous for what has been a fantastic day today. And I'm going to share some thoughts, some reflections, a bit of an update on the spending review as well. Then I'm going to hand over to my colleague Tom from the Department for Health and Social Care to finish off with some reflections as well. So I'm going to start by saying that as a civil servant working in central government on family policy for children's services now for a few years now, our jobs are ultimately about putting the resources in place so that people can have those magic moments that have been talked about today, to be able to develop trust, which obviously takes time, to just develop, have those interactions that can make life a little bit better for people. It's, for us, we're right at the other end of that system. Obviously, we're a long way away from that, from those magic moments. So days like today are really important to us in central government. They keep us focused on what's important. They're really good for learning, and just the conversations that we've had today, and the conversations have been great. So I'm going to say a few thank yous. Thank you, first of all, to colleagues at the National Centre for Family Hubs for today. It's been a brilliant day. Thank you for the team at Anna Freud as well for everything that you've done over the last few years. It's more than just today, obviously. There's fantastic resources, there's a communities of practice, all the work done to sort of connect colleagues around the country and share best practice has been wonderful. We're really pleased, and it's been great working with you from the department. Also, big thank you to colleagues from local governments that have worked with the National Centre over the last few months, over the last few years, obviously giving their time, and it's been wonderful today hearing the different journeys that different local authorities have been on. So, big thank you to you for your time as well. I'm going to come on to the spending review and give an update and say what I can on that. Obviously, we've been working on the process to determine the budgets for next year over the last few months, over the summer period. I think it's fair to say decisions are still being taken. The process is still running at the moment. We all know that the outcome is going to be announced in a couple of weeks from now, on the 30th of October. So I'm afraid there are a couple more weeks to wait. I can't obviously announce the budget now, and we don't know the outcome of that in the department as it stands. And we obviously understand the pressure that this has brought over a period of time. The uncertainty, the difficulties that it causes in your ability to deliver services. So, and we know that ministers are aware of that as well. Obviously, ministers are aware of that risk too. So, while I can't say anything more about budgets at this time, the thing we can say is that we know that ministers are absolutely committed to family hubs. We heard that in the speeches at the start of the day from Ministers Davey and Gwynne. We know that they've been really impressed on the visits that they've been on. We've had the Secretary of State go on a visit to Derby Family Hub. We had Minister Davey go to Wolverhampton and to York as well, and they're sort of squarely behind the importance of these services that they've seen. I'll say, as well as the spending review, there has been work in government over the last few months on developing the new government's missions. So people might have heard that. You'll be hearing more, I think, from government over hopefully soon about its new missions. And these are long-term, the ambitious outcomes that the government is going to set for delivering change over the rest of the Parliament. And there are 5 missions. Obviously, 2 particularly important for this agenda are breaking down barriers to opportunity, the Opportunity Mission, and the Health Mission, building an NHS for the future. And the others are on energy, safer streets and growth. But the missions are really important to us in the civil service. They change sort of structures and processes for us in the civil service, which I know is a bit of a niche interest, but it's also going to have an impact on the spending review. So the mission-led approach will be a factor as we come to determine the budgets over the next few years. And once the budgets are announced for next year in a couple of weeks, we'll then be going into another spending review period to determine the budgets for the next few years, so a multi-year spending review that is going to finish by next spring. So once we've got the clarity on the funding for next year, we'll be working with ministers to consider what the future looks like over the rest of the spending review, what the vision that they want to take for over the next few years for children's services and family support. Now, again, I'll kind of point to the comments that were made by the ministers at the start of the day. We know that they're fully committed to this agenda and to these services. That's what we can say. They definitely recognise the vital contribution that family support plays to the missions of government. So there's a link there to be made. And the Secretary of State as well has also been absolutely clear in what she said, that she sees the Opportunity mission as being driven by what happens at home. Family support and early years are a huge part of that too. So over the next few months, we're going to be looking at how we can build on all the fantastic work that's happened over the last few years. On the Family Hubs Start for Life programme, on the transformation programme for Family Hubs, and also, in the local authorities that haven't been funded too. We want to build on all of that work over the multi-year spending review period. So we want to work with you to do that. So I would just say there will be opportunities to help us with that work over the coming months. There'll be surveys, invites to focus groups from the departments, questions from regional delivery leads for local authorities that are on the programme at the moment. So do engage with us on that work over the next few months. I'll just finish off by just saying, it's obviously for a transformation programme, it's still early days. We're sort of 3 years in. This sort of work takes a long time. So I'd say it's early days, but there's lots of possibility and hopefully exciting times ahead for us all over the next few years. So thank you. I'm going to hand over to Tom now to finish off with some comments from DHSC. Thank you.
Right. Hello, everyone. So, hello. As the sort of trailed person, Tom McCulloch, working in the Department for Health and Social Care, Start for Life Family Hubs programme, I feel I've got a couple of jobs really. One, to not go on too long and get you to leave on time, and two, to try and capture some of the highlights of the day. And I want to say at the start, there's no way I can do justice to all that's been covered today. So what I say will just be a few reflections, and of course there'll be lots more that you can follow up with the slides and the detail and the Menti surveys, and the ongoing conversations that people have started. So if I've forgotten anything that's happened today that's resonated with you, then apologies from me. So I was on a call yesterday with a few people in my team, and they were saying, is Tom sort of speaking at the National Family Hubs conference tomorrow? And they said, what's he going to say? And someone said, he's going to sing My Way. Now, I'm tempted to sing My Way, but I suppose it makes you think that everybody does it their way, but you've obviously clearly got between you a really common set of values and purpose and mission and the difference you want to make. So I think it's okay to do it your way, because we recognise that places and spaces start at different points and they're on different stages of the journey. For me, just to think about the sort of start of the day and what we've heard. So as Chris has said, it was really good to hear from ministers at the start, wasn't it, really? From Andrew Gwynn and Minister Davey. I was personally pleased to hear that she's a social worker, as an ex-children's social worker myself. So great that social work's at the heart of the Department for Education. And we know that Minister Gwynn, as we heard today, very committed to children's services, is patron of Home Start, works on lots of APPG programmes. So, I think we've got a real commitment from government to this agenda. And obviously, as Chris says, we'll wait for further information. So I have the opportunity and the pleasure, really, of leading a team of people in the Department for Health and Social Care who actually get to work with many local authorities. So it was lovely today for me to hear from some people here who've met people from my team. So my team come out and work with LAs on the implementation and the delivery, and they work with all your partners, and they bring so much learning back into the programme, and they're all from a background of children's services delivery. So we really benefit from the experience that they bring, but they also bring a lot of learning back from what you're doing. And the other thing I wanted to sort of reflect on and say, we've heard so much today that we want to keep resonant and powerful, so we will make sure, and I'll make sure, that all that we've heard today, some of the messages from yourself are fed back to the department and the civil service, and what you've learned and what you've shared informs whatever comes next. So that's a commitment from me, really. So obviously we started off, didn't we, by hearing from Eamon McCrory, from CEO of Anna Freud. Now, I know Eamon from when we worked at the Trauma Council, and I would absolutely emphasise what he said. There are some fantastic resources on the UK Trauma Council's website, and I think it was really powerful when he talked about the experiences of children. And the question that somebody said was about workforce, and I think it was about teachers. But for me, I think it's really important, isn't it, that everybody who's working with children and families understands the impact of trauma and adverse child experiences. So I think it's really important that we not just support the workforce to understand the impact, but also then to think about how we support them to continue to support families. So I thought Eamon's, he managed the technology very well, didn't he? But I think he did a great job in putting those experiences at the heart of what we need to think about, really. And then moving on, it was lovely to hear from colleagues from Tower Hamlets and from Thrive at 5 and from Nesta. And the parents' voices that we heard, that was a brilliant film, wasn't it, really? It was only, someone said, I don't know if it was Mohammed, said that it was done in a matter of days, but it just came across so powerfully and so authentically. So I think for me, the voice of parents and parents' lived experience has been really powerful and resonant today. So I want to thank colleagues in Tower Hamlet for sharing that film, and also for people for sharing their experience of the things that parents have told them. We should never forget the experience of parents and children, and that's really should be at the heart of what we do. And then obviously we talked about outcomes. Everyone wants to talk about outcomes, didn't we, really? What's the difference you're making? What's the distance you've travelled? And I was part of a conversation. They let me sit on this table and be part of a conversation, and it was really interesting to hear about how people are thinking about outcomes and the difference made, really. And it was really interesting. People said it's sort of slightly informed by how you're organised and governed. It's all informed by your starting point. But everybody wanted some sense of outcomes and the difference being made. So again, I was asking the question of colleagues, could we do more at the centre to support people with an outcomes framework and delivery? We don't want to be prescriptive, but I think we could learn from the ways that people are capturing the distance travelled. So I just wanted to sort of mention that, really. And then as we sort of moved into the afternoon, we heard a lot about transformation. I'm going to think about that camel story as well, really. I've got 4 brothers, and we do tend to still bicker, so I might try and sort of share out the camels in a more equitable way, really. So, but I thought Sarah's point around sustainability is a really important one, because we all talk about sustainability, and of course funding is important. Funding is really important. You can't do stuff without that. But I thought the thing that resonated for me from Sarah was it's also about hearts and minds. It's about ways of working. It's about everybody bringing something to the table. It's about sharing assets. So I think the work that we heard about there was really powerful and resonates. And I also know from the work that my team are doing elsewhere, there's loads of good thinking about sustainability going on. And people are coming together, funded, non-funded areas, or self-funded, I think the phrase is, to learn from what comes next. So I think whatever happens next with spending review, I think just to embed some of the ways of working we've heard about is really going to be important. And then sort of as the sort of afternoon went on, we obviously heard about some of the transformation in Calderdale and other places, Northumberland really. And again, I thought that was really powerful, because it told us that family hubs are making a real practical difference in their communities. And they're not just buildings, they're not just a set of funding, they're about all coming together with the community. So I think, for me, I'm really struck by the transformation that you're all achieving on a daily basis. And I think coming together today, away from all the things that you might do with every day, has been a brilliant celebration of the work that's gone on. So I've really loved being here today, really. It's been great, and I've really enjoyed hearing about all the stories that are going on. So I'm probably out of time, really. I've probably gone on a bit long. If it's time for a song, let me know. But I just want to thank you. I want to thank all the colleagues who've organised. I want to thank everybody who's contributed. And I really am really optimistic. I think people have been so honest, so generous with their experience. So I would just like to wish you well the rest of your journey and the rest of your travels home. So thank you very much.